Hi, Anne Spencer. Nice to be back and welcome to the channel. I did say I would look at the science behind mindset and happiness. Surprising, actually, to put science and happiness all in the one sentence, but there we go. A whole new world of science, and that's a fact. So it starts with a change of belief. As Jurgen Klopp said, we have to change from doubters to believers. And if Liverpool Football Club is an example, then he's right, you know. Congratulations, by the way. But where should change of belief be made? The subconscious, actually. And why? Well, simple. The subconscious has all the power. Like a computer, the subconscious runs everything. So that kind of makes sense. It runs your immune system, our beliefs, memory, and even the heart, and a number of other organs, etc. After all, we can say plenty, can't we? But do we believe them? That is the question. And like I said previously, Roberto Assagioli, great to pronounce that now, spent his whole life researching, and many other psychologists today support and they prove, as he did, that we are all meant to find a harmonious state in our lives while we're living on this planet. Let's face it, we do want to. And in all these different states of mindfulness that we try to endeavour to do, will go such a long way in helping our immune system as well, and impacts completely the quality of our health. And the reason it has that impact, and now this is the science and this is good, the body doesn't know the difference between an experience and a thought. That's the first thing. How good. You can literally change your biology and your chemistry, you know, your hormones and your genes, simply by having an inner event. How good. When I say an inner event, I mean like an experience, a thought that gives you that visceral feeling. Yeah, so that means, or that shows you how important your thoughts are when they can have that effect on your whole body and the workings of it. I mean, that sounds great. That's from Joe Dispenza, my favourite. Once again, you know, let's put that into action and see the difference to your whole health and immune system. You can't say no to that, guys. You can't say no to that. Mindset is based on your beliefs, right? So we kind of covered that. But outside events shouldn't really have the ability to pull you down or anything. And you know that. I know you know that, but a little bit different today, isn't it? Because we could be affected now by outside elements, as in the virus. So it's not really a feeling of, well, we're not having control then, are we? For me, I start doubting myself, don't I? But that's only normal, and you may as well. But to help maintain a positive attitude throughout the day, I try and start my mornings as strong as possible. And by that, I mean kind of implement a positive vibe early, you know, new ways, new days. Of course, unexpectedly, and it is, isn't it? Environment, it's changed because of the virus. But, well, even more so then, to keep that strong positive attitude. And honestly, it will really serve you. It will serve you well throughout your whole life, I can tell you that. Oh yeah. So declutter your minds of unwanted stuff, guys, like a cupboard of junk that we all have. I know I have somewhere. I did want to go on and tell you about a lovely lady who lived above us in London many years ago. Well, actually, her and her husband, a French couple, Jacques et Lucette. Yes, very French names. You couldn't get any more French than that, could you? But that was their names. They introduced me to Pernod, actually, at the age of 8. I think that's what the French did, but hey, I'm okay. It was all watered down. They didn't have kids of their own, as I remember, but they were so wonderful, wonderful people. And they would visit us downstairs, and I would periodically go up and visit them. And Lucette taught me a very valuable lesson. At the time, I didn't realise, and it wasn't the best type of French wine, although I do like a very nice Cabernet Sauvignon. Funny that. Anyway, I remember she was planting, as she did, in a small box on her balcony. And I was helping her as usual, pulling weeds out and planting new seeds with her. And as she potted away, she would talk in English in her beautiful French accent. It really was lovely. And she would be, her attention would be on pottering into the plant, but she would be talking to me and she'd say, Anne, Every day, if you can, plant a seed in amongst the weeds. Otherwise, you'll have to keep going back to pull out all the weeds, and you're not seeing any new growth or new flowers. And she said, do the same thing as well when you're at school in your mind. Plant a new thing every day. Otherwise, you won't grow and you won't get new experiences and new things to do. That is a great metaphor for your mind, isn't it? As I see it now. In other words, self-mastery is determined by how well you manage your thoughts. Not quite sure at 8, I was sort of thinking, I see what you mean, Lucette. I need to master my mind. Aha, grasshopper. But certainly, if it was a foundation of knowing, if you plant something to replace a weed, it's going to look nice, and you're not going to have to go back and see all these weeds. You're going to see some nice results. Well, it must have seeped into my life in some way, Otherwise, why do we have metaphors? That's a good question, isn't it? But merci beaucoup, Lucette. Having said that, and on that subject, the fear of coming out of lockdown, for example, that was really brought to my attention just recently regarding, going back to work, what we perceive as normal, although it won't be exactly normal, let's face it really won't. But to explain, a couple of years ago, I was at a Shakespeare theatre course. Yes, it was fantastic, I have to say, where I met many people, and one in particular, a young man, lovely, enthusiastic man, as all the students were. But he really shone, He had such talent with humility. Great combo, that, isn't it? Talent and being grounded. Love that. Anyway, he is an actor, very positive and hard-working individual. Something theatre needs, passionate actors. Well, watch this space right enough, but when theatre reopens, that's another issue, isn't it, really? Anyway, he got in touch with me after listening to this channel with regards to coming out of lockdown and this sudden fear he seemed to have that overwhelmed him. He then went on to say, and I quote here, "For some reason, I seem to be struggling with fear all of the time, ever since we've came out of lockdown." He went on to say, "I'm back at work now, so complete change of environment, and I'm really struggling to adapt, and it's been 3 weeks already. It's very annoying feeling, and for some reason I'm getting scared of performing, which is the one thing I love to do the most in the world." As all actors do, of course. We all do. So is there any way of remedying this sudden overwhelming fear that he feels? To help him, and doubtless to help all of us, really, if we do experience the same thing. Bearing in mind, he is normally a very positive type person, as far as I remember. So, as it has been brought to my attention, to relate or share with you, if a similar emotion happens to you, and let's face it, we will all be out and about eventually, if you do find a similar wave of fear, that as much as it will feel odd, of course, before you get too overwhelmed, to know the normality of it, and it should be expected, and address the fear as indicating something to you, but not necessarily a bad thing, just an indication of vigilance. And as he and my friend said to me, it's not so much finding the solution, is it? Or having an answer, because we have individual fears for very different reasons, each one of us. But to think of it as a journey of progression. If we understand our feelings, the reasons why and what they mean, and they could mean as a positive when we're actually going through them, then you can really roll more easily with it, and it will make more sense without it overwhelming. Certainly we know we will have to pay attention to social distancing, being vigilant, a new lifestyle in restaurants, bars, shops when they open, in our general life movement. Even subconsciously we will know this. There will be a whole different and new way in which we move around. And becoming conscious of the need to stand apart, wearing a mask for whatever reasons, and even travel. Travel, yet another force to be reckoned with. But the reality is definitely set, and we've just got to expect it. In other words, going back to work, our jobs, seeing people again that we work with is all the same, but not. Not exactly. We have a new culture, another dynamic to attend to. We need to pay attention, as I say, being vigilant with the knowledge that the virus is still out there. And with every country at different stages, of course. Here in Scotland, we are entering into phase 2, which still expects us to remain 2 metres apart or so, like that, yeah. So stand back from me and I will stand back from you. Of course, we're all different. Our perspectives are variable, that's for sure, to say the least. But no matter what type of person we are or what perspective, fear will be relevant and it will take hold of us in similar ways. So we might be going back to the same thing, like the same job when we finally do, but it will be with extra responsibility in a sense, because we know we have to have that caution. And for many of us, having been in lockdown, we have acclimatised ourselves, to the safety or the sanctuary of our own homes. And that would be normal, of course. And we've been doing that for so long. And that's when we can actually sabotage ourselves. In other words, we lose in our confidence, our self-esteem. I mean, you're not alone. That self-belief is zapped a little bit. All of those things that we have nurtured, if you like, and developed in our lives. So it's harder to do the things we once did without batting an eyelid. I mean, I find that phenomenal. It's amazing that hibernating, which I like to call it, changes everything. Our whole perspective is changed. It's mad that it can take us or zap our confidence in such ways. But when we recognise that, that's the difference. When we recognise it, we can build belief back up again. That's the difference. We need to remain cautious. We absolutely do, especially when the future health of our country, no matter what country you're in, depends on what we actually do out of lockdown, or what you do now if you are currently out of lockdown. Because we don't know the people who have the virus, and we don't know who we come in contact with. So it's not just the biological effect the virus has, is it? But the mental issues alongside it. The thought of going outside after being safe in our bubble, it makes you feel nervous. I know it can make me feel nervous, and that, along with it, brings anxiety. So yeah, that's what fear can do. It can do so much damage if you allow it to overwhelm. And just by one thought, which takes you to that place, of blue cloud. So we don't want to go there, yeah? Fear will overwhelm you. But it's there also to protect you. And in this case, it's protecting you so that you can go towards being vigilant. Having peace and that comfort that fear can bring you as well. Quite confusing, but it is a way to look at it. In other words, having both, have both of them. Fear to keep you safe, but not too much of it that will remove, that you can pull it in, and you don't want it to remove the calm from your life. So really, I guess what I'm trying to say is we must have a mix of both of them as a human being to stay safe. So we can work them together. Because it's shown that humans grow the most when they are right on the border of positive and negative responses. How's about that? And that's exactly where we are. It's the way to look at it when we find ourselves in that fearful place. But anxiety, yeah, it's a real thing. It's the real thing. Of course it is. Can't undermine it. Personality creates your personal reality. True or false? Yeah, it's true. So we want to function well, cope adequately with our living, especially today. Well, not just today, but any circumstances, So let's slip into the science. Slipping into science. Sounds very nice. Neuroscience, no less. There's so much out there, actually, the more you look. But that's how important, or that's the difference is actually made by knowing what well-being is. Neuroscience has revealed that well-being is a skill, although it's hard to define. Of course it is. There's multiple things going on there. But fundamentally, well-being's no different from learning to play an instrument. A guitar, piano, whatever. You practice and you get better. You practice, you will get better at it. And science again is showing that individuals who show a rapid, well, I'm reading this bit, who show a rapid recovery in certain key neural circuits have higher levels of well-being. Well, I don't know about you, but well-being was the only thing that I could understand from that sentence. But, that's some serious fabby science going on there. In other words, having a positive outlook, the more positive we are, this helps to wire, if you like, our brains for greater connections to carry out all our body functions and all that jazz. So really what we're doing is we're shaping our brains wittingly or unwittingly. Probably the latter more often than not, because how often do we do things we're not really sure why or even aware of it? But hey, so now they're calling this neuroplasticity. I won't go into explain that any further, but there's a word for you. Get your tongue around that. But basically, under that means it gives us the power to shape our minds with a better intention in our lives. Yeah, it might sound slightly complicated, but really, when you're actually doing the action of it, it's simplicity itself. Just being, as I say, mindful, and that simplicity gives massive physical and mental health results. It really does, because our minds are better with an intention, a positive intention, and in doing that, we're actually protecting ourselves in so many ways from any adverse consequences outside in our lives. Dare I say, life slings and arrows. Yeah, I had to add a bit of Shakespeare there. What have you? Seeing so many people hearing about their experiences and their testimonies, it's astounding, and it's real, and it's normally the common thing is they have faith and belief in their own abilities, because we have a built-in chemistry. Science has proven that it's a natural chemistry that we have. We always hear about aromatherapies and herbal remedies, and there's a lot there that works alongside with the mind. So that helps us heal. And focusing and aiding yourself to relax a little bit, slowing down, so try and think of the concept of yourself. How often do we do that? We don't. Sometimes I'll think, who am I? Where am I? Where am I going? But that is not a concept. That's just more like confusion, I guess. But, seriously, no, we have to get back into having that inner belief in ourselves, because we can heal. Our inner experience allows us to heal and to live ultimately a better life. So put it into action. That's what I'm doing. Fall down, get up. Fall down, get up again. You'll always be learning and progressing. And remember that when you're getting back up and progressing. I do that in the morning. It's a slow easing out of bed. But I say to myself, I am progressing because I'm out of bed now. But, everyone, each to their own. Bottom line, take responsibility for your own mind. It can work well for you. And it's not that difficult. It's very liberating. It's a sense of freedom that when you're up, that you can take hold of things and master it a little bit better. I guess that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm talking about. Mastering that, conjuring up good feeling thoughts. Why don't you? And there was John Lennon, that's who it was, another quote, sorry. But he said, part of me thinks I'm a loser and part of me thinks I'm a god. Well, what does that mean? Says it all really, in a sense, doesn't it? So, personality creates your personal reality. It's true, yeah, it's so true. So there's the clue, guys. There is a clue. What you fear, depending how far you want to take that fear, is by your own creation. Yeah, that's exactly it. So master your thoughts. That's all I'm saying. That is all I'm saying for now. And I'll be back, as they say, but I hope this was helpful, even just a little. Thanks for listening. Stay safe, stay happy, and see you next time. Bye.